Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to the First Parish in Framingham. Welcome if this is your first time joining us, and welcome back if this is your community. First Parish in Framingham is a welcoming congregation. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you move around in the world, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. We welcome you here in the meeting house or on Zoom or wherever and whenever you may be watching this service in the future. I am Diane Bassett. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm happy to be your worship associate this morning. Please be sure to read the announcements in the order of service. Immediately following worship, you're invited to join us for coffee hour over in Scott Hall, just across the courtyard. This is our second week of another 4 or 5 week Sunday experiment with family worship and our worship service. Our family worship took place at 10 this morning. Please take a moment to turn your phones and other devices to their quietest setting. While beeps and buzzes can be distracting, we welcome your human noises. We especially love the sound of your singing, so please join in. Since 1701, people have gathered as this community to rest or recharge, to be challenged or affirmed. Those people are like you. You belong here, maybe only for the next hour, but we hope for much longer. We are happy to have you with us. I now invite you to take a comfortable breath in and out. Continue to take a few more comfortable breaths and begin to release whatever you need to let go of to be more fully present to yourself, to one another, and to the sacred in this time and place. Each time when we gather, we light the flaming chalice, the symbol of our faith, to mark this time as special, a time apart from time. The chalice lighting words this morning are from Reverend Tom Goldsmith, who writes, "Symbol of light and knowledge, symbol of warmth and freedom, we light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love."
It is a tradition in our congregation after a member has died to light a memorial candle. Myrna Howe, who had been a member of our congregation since 1996, died on Tuesday night. Myrna was a crucial part of First Parish, especially as a delegate to the Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry. A memorial service in Myrna's memory will be held on September 28th in this space at 2 p.m. Let us sit in a moment of silence in her memory. May her memory continue to be a blessing to us all. Now I invite you to rise in body or spirit. Both work just fine to sing hymn 338, "I Seek the Spirit of a Child."
The world alive and breathes the Lord.
we set aside this time in our gathering to share with one another the joys and the sorrows which are now shaping our lives. After our final candle is lit, we'll sing the 2 verses of There Is a Love, which can be found in your order of service. We begin with the sorrows and concerns of our people. Valerie Waldman writes this sorrow. My dear friend Myrna Howe passed away this week. We shared many pleasant experiences, including our volunteer work with the Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry. This from Lauren Falwell. I'm grieving the loss of Myrna Howe. She was an incredibly kind, thoughtful, and dedicated person who was filled with love for her family and friends. May we follow her example. She'll be greatly missed. This from Charlie Cormier, a sorrow. He says he's been diagnosed with 2 stage 4 hepatic tumors and lymph node, working with Dana-Farber and hoping for a quick surgical solution. Appreciate your kind thoughts and healing light. And these are the joys of our gathered community. Bill and Linda Schreiber share this. Our good friends Doug and Isabel Conrad, former longtime members of First Parish, are visiting us this weekend and will be mixing with you at coffee hour today. Carol and Bob Boyce share this joy. Happy last week to have visited our son living outside of Dallas, Texas, in the area of eclipse totality, an added bonus. This joy from the Reverend Mr. Barb Grieve, our affiliated community minister, who's delighted to share with the congregation that the Unitarian Universalist Association Ministerial Fellowship Committee has granted him full fellowship as a minister. And yes. And wishes to express his immense gratitude for the congregation's continued support of him and his ministry. We light one final candle for all of the joys and all of the sorrows that are too great to share, but remain on our hearts. Let us now sing, There Is a Love. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. I invite you to return your attention to your breath, the breath in and the breath out, to feel what is supporting you, what is holding you up. O Spirit of life and love, named and unnamed, who calls us each by our true first name, which is beloved, seen in the molecule and the atom and the buds planted last spring, last fall, emerging into the world, leaves arriving to the tip of tree branches. We give thanks for this, our gathered community, for family and friends, and new chances, new ways of labeling our vocational journey. We give thanks for all these and more. Our gathered people also hold great sorrow, mourning the loss of one who was near and dear to us. New diagnoses. During tough times, may we remember to turn toward rather than away, depending on the strength of this people. And even though it is peaceful in our neck of the woods, we know that it isn't that way everywhere. Let us find ways to bring peace to all of the war-torn parts of our world. The moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. It bends with and without our hands helping it. Let us do what we can to bring a little bit more justice to the world, knowing that justice is what love looks like in public. And because we are human, because we breathe, we can make mistakes from now and then, every now and then. Our humanity shows sometimes a little bit too much, and we put up barriers between ourselves and others. Let us be reminded that we are loved and lovable not in spite of these imperfections, but because of them. And there is always time to return once again to right relationship. I say these words and do all things for love's sake. Our time of contemplation continues on in a time of silence, so that you might rest, listen, pray the prayers of your own hearts, or simply do nothing for the next minute. May this quiet that we have known be something that we can return to throughout our week.
I share these words from Reverend Erica Hewitt. The offering that we take each Sunday isn't just a stale habit. It is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to this people. Our offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something we value. With our gifts freely given, may we say yes to the values of our faith. May our offering help us practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation. If you already shared an offering at the family service, you're invited to let the offering plate pass you by. Thank you to the choir for that moment of play. Our reading this morning is a poem, The Sacred Dance for Life by Hafiz. I sometimes forget that I was created for joy. My mind is too busy. My heart is too heavy. Heavy for me to remember that I have been called to dance the sacred dance of life. I was created to smile, to love, to be lifted up and lift others up. O sacred one, untangle my feet from all that ensnares. Free my soul that we might dance and that our dancing might be contagious.
And once more, I sometimes forget that I was created for joy. My mind is too busy, my heart is too heavy, heavy for me to remember that I have been called to dance the sacred dance of life. I was created to smile, to love, to be lifted up and lift others up. O sacred one, untangle my feet from all that ensnares. Free my soul that we might dance and that our dancing might be contagious. Joy and play are not things that come naturally to me. It is not a direction that I am normally oriented to. In first grade, we were given a get-to-know-you worksheet, filling out our name, our favorite color, maybe our pet's name. I don't remember many of the other questions, except for this one. If you could write any type of book, what type of book would it be? And in first grade, I wrote, I would like to write a reference book. I had a copy of the New York Public Library desk reference book, 4 pounds, 2.5 inches thick, that I would carry with me. I would take it on car trips. I would carry around catalogs, especially the Sears catalog, when that was still in paper, until the covers had fallen off, and I would carry it some more. And I have used this as an example of my seriousness for a while. And to be fair, it's still a pretty good example of my seriousness. But now I realize that I saw something joyful in seeing all of the possibilities, at least all of the possibilities according to the New York Public Library and Sears. I would like us to consider this morning what a spiritual practice of play might look like. For joy is not meant to be withheld. Joy is not a reward only after something bad has happened. Joy does not have to be productive, but it should be enjoyable. And joy is what life is all about, because joy resists evil in the world. To ground myself, I look to the ancient words of the psalmist, who writes of joy and play like this: "Give me relief from my distress. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer. Fill my heart with joy when their grain and new wine abound. Therefore my heart is glad and my tongue rejoices. My body also will rest secure, because you will not abandon me to the realm of the dead, nor will you let your faithful one see decay. You make known to me the path of your life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at hand." Joy is not meant to be withheld. Joy is not meant to be a crumb, as the poet Mary Oliver reminds us. I think, and I expand that to mean, it is meant to be the whole darn loaf of bread that you eat with gusto. Actually, joy is meant to be a sourdough starter that you give to one another, that you have to sustain, and that takes on the character of the environment it is fed in. Joy is not meant to be a reward after bad stuff has happened. Psalm 30 reminds us, you turned my wailing into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy, that my heart may sing your praises and not be silent. Lord my God, I will praise you forever. How often do we forget that according to that poem by Hafiz, that we were created for joy? Our minds are too busy, our hearts are too heavy for us to remember. Now, according to a random meme that I saw on the internet on Wednesday, which are known to be the most trustworthy, those Wednesday memes, I learned that it's estimated that people watching the eclipse on Monday cost the economy $700 million in lost productivity. Well, let's check the math on that, shall we? So this assumes that there are 87 million working individuals in the path that saw some part of the eclipse, earning an average wage of $23.86 an hour. And that taking those 20 minutes off of work to look at the sun, that's how the math works out. That's okay. Right? 700 million in lost productivity for what is likely a once-in-a-lifetime event. It was beautiful. It was joyful to see it. My family, we all drove up to Newcomb, New York, to see the moon block out the sun, the eclipse in its glorious totality. Every human being facing in the exact same direction, in quiet, wrapped in awe, in the coolness with the street lights coming on. It was one of the most surreal moments, transcending mystery and awe, and I could care less that the economy lost $700 million. I wish there were more moments of awe and wonder like that. For what it's worth, there was another article that came out around that same time that said eclipse travel and all the other stuff that you could buy could deliver anywhere from $1 to $6 billion back to the economy, which is a really large range, don't get me wrong. Joy, awe, and wonder do not need a dollar amount. Joy is not meant to be productive. It can be, but it's also supposed to be enjoyable. Now this winter I took up 2 hobbies, playing bassoon again and learning how to throw pottery on a wheel. As I mentioned to those who asked on Easter or Good Friday, I had about a 2-decade gap in playing bassoon publicly. And really in those intervening years, I didn't pick the instrument up at all. And I think part of that is because at some point we seem to lose our drive and desire to play at some point. We say, well, that student doesn't really have much progress in hockey or basketball, so I don't know why they still play. We turn hobbies into side hustles. It's why I stopped playing the bassoon for so many years. My instructor in middle school had the assumption that I was going to go on to play in the conservatory, to become a bassoon performance major, and I would play in orchestras. And I was not at that level. That was not my desire. And I have this memory of the week after I quit playing bassoon in middle school, picking up the bassoon and soloing and breaking all of the rules for bassoon playing, and it felt so good. I reflected as I began to play again in December that I appreciated being the one to pick the pieces that I was going to play. No longer stuck playing the bass line, which, while important, was not what I wanted to play. There was joy to be found in playing the melody line. I wanted to hear myself play the notes that the song was known for. Now in pottery, there is a student who sits next to me. She's a second semester student, meaning she's just 12 classes ahead of me. She's still a beginner, but less of a beginner than I am. And the first class of pottery was an epic failure for me. I was too gentle with the clay, then I was too hard with the clay. The wheel was too fast, then the wheel was too slow. The clay was too wet, then it was too dry, and I was frustrated. And apparently that was visible on my face. And my classmate said, yeah, the first class is tough, you'll get better. Reassuring, certainly. However, now, every class since then, she'll remind me of that first class, saying, boy, this is better than that first class, isn't it? And I shrug it off because factually, it is true. My skills are improving. By now, being an amateur hobbyist at so many things, I know that being a beginner is something that brings me joy. What I really want to say to that classmate that I'll probably never really have the moxie or the chutzpah to say is that I'm okay with being a beginner. I am okay with failure as long as there is some reflection as to why I failed. I do not expect perfection at first. If anything, I needed more support early on. Maybe that's another insight. We need more patience with beginners because we know that everything that we see, taste, hear, touch, or smell that is created by human hands at least is there because a beginner persevered through being a beginner and continued on. Now, I will let you in on a little secret. I have a routine that I warm up with every morning as I drive to church to preach. Most of the time when I'm driving down Route 9 on a Sunday morning, I do the same vocal warm-up that I've done since acting in a play in high school. You combine different consonant sounds with different vowel sounds. It sounds like this: ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba-bay, ba-ba-ba-ba-bee, ba-ba-ba-ba-bo, ba-ba-ba-ba-boo. And then you continue on to the next one. Do y'all want to do that with me? So it's ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba-bay, ba-ba-ba-ba-bee, ba-ba-ba-ba-bo, ba-ba-ba-ba-boo. Then we continue on to the next consonant in the alphabet. We will not do all of them today. And then I turn on the dulcet tones of Andrew W.K. on the radio. If you're expecting something slow and quiet, this is not it. It is fast and loud. Andrew W.K. is a speed metal musician. And it's playing this fast music that energizes me, because I'm pretty good at being pretty chill and quiet. On his 2018 album, if I'm not listening to it on shuffle, by the time that I pull off of Route 9, I'm likely on one of the 3 spoken word parts of the album, where WK lays out his life's philosophy, which boils down to partying is what life is all about. And for me, I find joy in this music. Maybe because it's so outside of what I normally listen to. Guilty pleasure isn't quite the right word for it, because as long as pleasure isn't hurting yourself or others, I don't think you should feel guilt about something that makes you feel good. Out of character, sure, it is for this tweedy minister who drives a hybrid and has an MFA membership and listens to NPR. Yeah, sure, it's out of character for all of that. But speed metal does not negate the tweed jacket. I wonder what I miss when I try to blend in, when I try to fit a stereotype. What do I not admit to liking, or not even give a chance because the people I hang out with will say, well, it's not what I like. I wonder what's the most out of character thing that you do, that you have to subdue because the people you associate with will say, well, it's not something that I like. Perhaps that's the partying that WK talks about. Embracing the joy, and embracing the things that bring you pure joy. Because one of the fears that I have is that I will get to the end of my life and I will regret not having played more. I will wish that there had been more joy, and for some reason I chose to remain quiet and stoic, and only doing the quiet things. That subduing myself was more important than living how I wanted to live. What would a full-throttled joy look like? What does a quiet joy look like, and what does a balance of those two feel like? It's why we went with Christopher Rabel's parody hymn, Coffee, 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 this morning. Something to blend the serious with the not so serious. That comes from a parody hymnal that Rabel wrote called Hymns for the Cerebration of Strife. A very deep pun on the hymnal of the day, Hymns for the Celebration of Life. Now, as I reflect on some of the crucial work that we did here at First Parish over this last year, we didn't do a whole lot of intentional mission and vision discernment work. We focused on having a lot of social events, like potlucks and breakfasts before church, open mic nights and a few drumming circles. The next is Thursday in this space. Let me know if you want to come. A support group for caregivers, a social or a solstice celebration, and so on. It is true, we do need to do the work of discerning what our congregation's mission is, wondering what shape our congregation will have, but our skills in interacting with one another, our ability to have fun, I think all of that atrophied during our time of physical isolation. We have to remember how to have fun if we are to have serious conversations. And a crucial part of our community's mission is about building community. And you cannot affirm that as a value unless you don't already do it. Finally, joy resists evil in the world. Joy is a powerful tool that we have to resist rising oppression. I think we will need to use our joy muscles more and more in the coming years. I go back to Andrew W.K. He says this of the power of joy: we must be brave enough to wholeheartedly deny all the forces working to crush our spirit. We must not let devastation and death remove the joy from life. Existence, he says, is confusing and challenging enough as it is. Taking it too seriously and removing the few opportunities for unadulterated cheerfulness does not alleviate us of the burden. It weighs us down further and saps our strength until all we can do is plod along toward the void without any relief. The more appropriate response to life, he says, is to remain at play and in awe, not to mock the severity of our collective plight, but to truly stay engaged in the bewildering and ferocious grandeur of this adventure that we are on together. For if we take away a person's joy, you take away a key part of their humanity. Adrienne Marie Brown says this about joy and play. Pleasure activism, she says, is the work we do to reclaim our whole, happy and satisfiable selves from the impact, the delusions, and the limitations of oppression and/or supremacy. We believe that by tapping in to the potential goodness in each of us, we can create justice and liberation, growing a healthy abundance where we have been socialized to believe that only scarcity exists. So my friends gathered here, what would a world look like where joy and fun and creativity and pleasure are centered? Joy is not meant to be withheld. It's not a reward after the bad stuff has happened. It does not have to be productive, but it should be enjoyable. Joy is what life is all about. It resists the evil in the world. My briefest homework assignment to each of you is to pick something that brings you joy, that does not hurt others or yourselves, and do that joyful thing a few more times than you normally would in the coming week? What will be different in your life if you adopt this practice? May it be so, and amen. So let us rise in body or spirit to sing our closing hymn, number 311, Let It Be a Dance. So as we let it be a dance and we go out into the world, let us take the light of love and use it to brighten our pathways. And when we need to rest or recharge, be challenged or affirmed, may that light I see the clown nose out there. May that light guide us safely back. May we hold the light always, and the light hold us always. Amen, and go in peace. And Dean's piece is phenomenal, so be sure to listen to it. It has such great energy.